Good Tuesday morning, friends. It seems that the church is a favorite target in today's world. We're looked at by some as a slightly charming but clearly outdated institution. Others, who are perhaps less kind, tend to say that we are corrupt, self-serving, and sell people a bill of goods. These viewpoints are built upon the notion that church itself has become obsolete, that people no longer need an institution to commune with God. In this self-focused culture in which we live, each of us, they say, is able to develop a relationship with God in whatever way suits us, or, in an ever-growing number of folks, to not have a relationship with God at all. We're fine on our own, thank you very much, and we don't need anyone or anything telling us what to do. I'm sure you've heard that. And I guess that's all well and good, but for one thing, the church isn't really an institution. As we learned in COVID, it's not a building, it's not an icon. No, the church, my friends, is every one of us. People who take pleasure in bashing organized religion are targeting an institution, one that is made by man. But what they miss is that the church was not made by man, but by God. Jesus created the church when he gave the disciples a mission to go and preach the gospel to the ends of the earth. The gospel, the good news, that's literally what it means, is meant to be shared, and each time someone hears it and believes, they then become part of the family of believers, part of the church. Listen to what it says in Acts. All who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. Day by day they spent much time together in the temple. They broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of all the people. And day by day the Lord added to their number those who were being saved. The early church was a ramshackle group of people who came together because of their belief in Jesus Christ. Now, they didn't come from the same family, or the same town, or the same occupation. They were from different social classes. They spoke different languages. They were, in fact, different races. They were a mixed bag of all things, but they came together with one common trait. Each of them believed that Jesus was the Messiah, that he was raised from the dead, and that he had destroyed death so that we may have everlasting life. That is an incredibly radical thing. They were very much outside of the culture of their time. I'm willing to bet that they heard from many people outside of their group telling them that they were wrong, that they were being sold a bill of goods. But rather than let the wisdom of the world dictate to them, they chose instead to follow a higher calling. Their common faith was the foundation upon which they built a new society. A society where they would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. A society where they spent time together in the temple, worshiping and studying. A society where they broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of all the people. At its best, my friends, that's what the church is. A community of people drawn together not by race or color or ethnic background or social status or finance or any of that stuff. No, instead, by a common belief in God and in his Son, Jesus Christ. And that community is built upon love. Love of God and love of one another. Now, the culture of the time both then as well as now, told people to get as much as they could. More money, more livestock, more land. In that way, they could assure themselves of plenty, as there was not enough to go around. It's a culture built upon the idea of scarcity, that resources are finite and you need to get whatever you can and hold on to it tightly. In a culture built upon scarcity, everything is a competition. You're competing with your neighbor for food, for wealth, for power, for respect. It teaches us to want what another has and to find ways to acquire it, even if we have to cheat or steal to get it. But the church is not built on that idea. Rather than scarcity, the church is built upon the principle of abundance. Jesus tells the disciples, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Abundance is the opposite of scarcity. It means that there will always be enough, indeed, more than enough. So much, in fact, that there is enough to share with others and still have enough for yourself. That's what the disciples did in the early church, and when we're at our best, it's what we still do today. As Christians, we strive to live a life together built upon abundance. For while the world tells us that we should live as if resources are scarce, we know that God provides for us and provides abundantly. And that is how we approach our stewardship, our giving of our time, of our talent, and of our money. We share our resources, both with one another and with the outside world, the world outside of the church. We do these things because we live a life of abundance, and we know that Jesus calls us to love one another as he loves us. The best part of this little vignette from Acts is the closer. And day by day, the Lord added to their number those who were being saved. I often hear from church people to have one wish. We want to grow. We feel that we have a good thing going, and we want to share that with others. Well, on that, my friends, I agree with you. We do have a good thing going. But if we lived our lives according to the dictates of the world, we would want to keep this quiet, keep it to ourselves. In that way, we could hold on to this finite resource so that we wouldn't have to share it with others and dilute the amount we would receive. But we know that's not the case. No, instead, we live a life of abundance. And so we know that there will always be enough to share with others. So we share. We share our stories and we share our love. We share our time, we share our talent, we share our treasure, secure in the knowledge that God will always provide more than enough for all. And when we do that, when we share what we've been given with others, then God sends others to us. And they too become part of the church, part of that culture of abundance. And when enough people hear the message and live a life of God-given abundance, well then, as our diocesan slogan says, together we can indeed change the world.